right back.
Versatile Kevin Kilbane. Kev, good morning.
Good morning, Shane. You're right, Johnny. I analysed the France goal, the Australian goal that France conceded the other night, and it's interesting when you're seeing, I would have had it when I would have probably played on the right hand side. I played on the right wing a little bit in my time, but it's always funny when you're opening your body the other way around on your shoulder. It's so alien to lads when they go on the opposite side of the field. And as I said, I was doing Pavard's goal, and Pavard sees his guy, the guy that scored for Australia, on his outside initially, and then he gets attracted to the runner inside and doesn't once open his shoulder out as the move goes on. It was a great goal by Australia.
That was a lovely goal, yeah.
That's the sort of thing that you look at, little basic things like that happen in football, but it's the little minute detail, I think, at times that catches teams out.
You were Mr. Versatile, Kev, weren't you? Like, you both footed to an extent.
Played midfield for a while.
Yeah, both flanks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I actually played up front for Ireland once as well.
Did you?
Or not. Yeah, the only position I didn't play for Ireland was right back, I think. I think it was right back was the only position I didn't play for Ireland, yeah.
You didn't do goals either.
Who played goals have got well.
Who played you up front?
You will know that. Stan played up front under Stan. I didn't start the game up front, but I went maybe the last 30 minutes in a couple of games for Stan, yeah.
This is like Harry Maguire being thrown up front for United last minute. Although Kev,
something like that.
Goals.
There was no quality.
Like Jerry Maguire being thrown up front. Hell. Funny enough, I can't remember that, but maybe the Stan era was. Yeah, how'd you get on?
I don't know. We didn't have a great time, did we? Understand? I think we were chasing the game. I could have actually been San Marino. We did it in San Marino when Stephen Ireland scored late on. I think I was up front that game. There was another game, I think, as well. Yeah, I don't know. Do you know what, Johnny? I don't know. Honestly, God, I don't.
Kev, I know you've kind of spoken about the USA before and maybe where they're at or where they're not at to an extent. England game this evening, which is a big one in Group B. Some great photos in the paper, some nostalgic memories. Rob Green's howler against the USA to allow them to equalise in 2010 World Cup. Like, the USA will fancy a bit of a shock here, but I mean, the way England performed in the first game, it's hard to see it. It's hard to see it happening, is it?
I think England win all day long. I mean, prior to who was it? The Wales game, Greg Berhalter, the US coach, said that in this tournament, on our day, we can beat any side in the world. I think what he failed to mention is the rest of the teams need to have a really bad day if the US are going to go and beat them. They're not great at all.
There's the alarm. Kev, you have to wake up.
Get up for off the ball, Kev. Get up for off the ball.
Kev, wake up.
I know. That was the last one. That's my second alarm. That's the second call.
That is the most.
11 o'clock.
That is the most annoying. I know. I was just thinking this morning because I was waiting to get up. What is my alarm call
Let
again?
me get it.
Go on, Kev. Go on.
I'm going to be really annoyed by this alarm. But what is it anyway? It's just like parents. That particular alarm has to be the most annoying of them all.
It's my alarm too, but I hate it. I hate it, but it gets me up. It wakes me up like.
And my missus, she does that like staggered, like snooze. So it goes off about 10 times before I'm even thinking about getting up. I say, what a start to the day.
Kev's more than awake. He's got his Beatles t-shirt on and the whole lot as well. He's flying it this morning. He doesn't need the alarm. And you're 3 hours ahead, Kev. Is it not 11 a.m. there? Is it 3 hours ahead?
No, I know, but I'm still on. I'm still on Eastern time. It's still
fair.
4 in the morning or something like that, 3 in the morning. So this is where I've struggled with the times. I really have. I'm all over the place. Yesterday I was due to leave the hotel here at 12:30, and I only got to sleep about 5 o'clock after the night after the Canada game. We got back in quite late. It was maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. We got back in, and then I was up till 5. Fell asleep. I got up about 12:30. Missed the bus that I had to get, and then I was like scratching around trying to catch an Uber. So I'm all over the place time wise.
Sounds like nothing has changed since you left Ireland, anyway.
Sliding.
Don't give anything away, Johnny. Come on.
Yeah. Sounds like, Southgate's on the back pages today. Kev warning of arrogance and making sure the players don't get complacent ahead of the USA game. Of course, he's going to say that. Sounds like he's going to go with the same starting team from the Iran game as well. Like, are there any weaknesses that the USA can target? Not really.
I think when you look at it, you probably have to say at the back, the US have a bit of pace. Pulisic up front's got a bit of pace. Doesn't do enough, in my opinion, when he gets into the final third. I don't think they've got enough up front, really, the US, to hurt England. They don't create enough chances. As I said, there's a load of energy. Tyler Adams and Musa were really good in the first games. I think everyone would know Adams at this stage. They've got energy. They play with energy in midfield especially, but I just don't think they've got enough up front. I probably expect Aronson to come in today Gio Reyna from Dortmund was, I think Berhalter said he had a slight knock in that first game, so I expect him probably to be involved at some stage. And they could cause England problems at the back. But in saying that, I just think England going forward, Walker Zimmerman and Tim Ream at the back, they will not be able to stop Harry Kane. They'll have so much trouble. Saka's just been outstanding, not just this season, but the last maybe 18 months now. Saka's been terrific. I can't believe he's not starting Foden. That was a big surprise for me. I think he's England's best player. But Southgate had that at the Euros, didn't he? Where I felt as though that he was approaching games with a little bit more of a conservative approach and didn't necessarily want to fit his best players in. He was trying to get a formula that suited, and you can't argue with that really after the Iran game. I heard you guys just talking there. I think there was other circumstances that affected those Iran players. I don't expect them to be as bad in these next two games. But I do think Wales will beat them actually today. But in saying that, I just think England have got too much for the US. They should. I think they'll probably score 2 or 3 today. They may concede again, but I just can't see. I can't see anything but England getting 9 points from this group.
I thought Iran were so bad. I thought it was hard to judge England. Apart from the fact, Kev, I thought they looked very vulnerable, England, in terms of just like. When there was a breakdown in play, Declan Rice, I didn't think it had a great game. I thought defensively they didn't look great at all. In a game, in fairness, they were kind of always winning anyway. But for me,
Johnny Maguire was outstanding. Maguire was brilliant. I mean, for given the pressure he's under as well, and in that first game, and I know it was Iran, granted, but I think he's going to grow from that a little bit as well.
Possibly. I think today will tell us a lot more because, like, the US first half against Wales were very good, and I think this will tell us a lot more about England. You were almost half talking England up as potential winners in the Irish Times. I can't have it at all. I think they're way off.
I think if you ask me before the tournament, I'm saying absolutely no chance. I can't see it. Watching Brazil last night, I think you and I both share the same opinion on Serbia, Johnny. Serbia could easily go and get 6 points from these next two games. Brazil's tempo they played at. If you watch Saudi Arabia against Argentina, it wasn't great football, but it was just the tempo they played at. Argentina couldn't deal with it. If you watch Tunisia in their game against Denmark, the tempo, it's almost the tone's been set for the tournament that. The tournament hasn't really been great yet. I'd probably agree with that. But the tempo that maybe one or two of the lesser teams are setting against the bigger nations is something they can't compete with. So I think Brazil will take some stopping, Johnny. I don't think England will win it. I don't. I think they're going to fall down. I think defensively, I think they're going to struggle maybe against one or two of the better teams. I think France up front, let's just see where Mbappe goes and things like that. But they've got issues, haven't they? Defensively, again, France, another injury to them. I think that might come back to bite France. And it just leads back to Brazil to me every single time, whichever way I turn. I can't see Brazil with the strength of squad they have, with the 26 players that they have. I just think Brazil will win it. I just can't see anything else.
How important, Kev, is a harmonious group? Because I'm looking at the Brazil team last night coming off the bus and, they're all singing and dancing and there's a real sense of togetherness. Same with England. You're looking at the back pages and seeing them all laughing and joking together and training. Look, it's a photograph, you can't really tell, but there seems to be that vibe from this English camp. Saw a great story even before the World Cup from on the 2018 French win. During the tournament, Adil Rami, some of the teammates in the hotel waking him up, and he came out with the fire extinguisher. And the next morning, Deschamps said, "I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to laugh it off because there's a togetherness with this team. We need to keep it that way." Like, how important is that, Kev, at a tournament especially, to have that harmony? I suppose 2002 is an example of when it maybe goes the other way.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's an important thing. If you want to win the tournament, you have to have a together group.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think you've seen it with other nations when we've had some of the top teams in past World Cups and Euros when they've turned up for a tournament and you can see there's been friction within that camp and they've fallen down, maybe even not even getting out of the group at times. So yeah, I do think that it's a bit different, isn't it? This one, that they've only got that week anyway. They've not had the 3 or 4 weeks preparation, which it can become a bit stale within the camp. No matter what anybody says, you're away from home, you're away from your family, and you're away from the things that you've become comfortable with. It can throw people off. Some players don't like that. I've come across lots of players that were like that just didn't necessarily like being away from home. So I think that week, is going to help a lot of sides, the 6 days or whatever it was, just to prepare for the tournament. I know Martinez has said recently, after they played against Canada the other night, just saying that we had no time to prepare. It's thrown us. But if you're looking at it mentally from the players, I think it'll help them as the tournament progresses, that they're not going to be away for 7 or 8 weeks. It'll only be a maximum of perhaps 4 or or 5 going into if they get to a final like Brazil or whoever. So yeah, I do think that that togetherness definitely does help. And the best teams over the years and in World Cups and everything, I think you probably generally find that they do have a lot of players within that squad that are all probably friends, I would say, friends for life almost. And that's the stories that seem to come out afterwards when teams win and do well in tournaments.
Wasn't that the thing about Brazil, Kev, though? They look like they don't look like they'd been in camp together. They look like they knew exactly what their teammates were doing. Even the subs were like, when they came on, it was like interplay. And I fell for the Serb defenders with 10 minutes to go, where it's like, this isn't over.
They were dead, Johnny, weren't they? They were dead. They couldn't run. You could see the Serbian players. They were absolutely gone. And there's a couple of players from Serbia that I was actually surprised didn't start the game last night. I was watching. We've all seen a lot of Serbia, and I looked at the team that was put out, and I was. I can't remember the left wing back now that didn't start, the 17. You might have that in front of you there. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, but there was 2 or 3 players, and I was looking at it, and I was just thinking, why isn't he starting some of these? But anyway, I think he spoke of fitness issues around 1 or 2 players anyway coming into it. But Brazil, as I said, the tempo that they played with, and it could have been 5. And Serbia are a top side, by the way. They're a really, really good team. I think that I tipped them to get out of this group. I still think they will get out. It's going to come down to that last game against Switzerland. And if anyone remembers 2014, Shaqiri and Xhaka, with the tension that was going on around that game against the Serbs. So that'll come up again if there's something riding on that last game. It should be a great game if it comes down to that one. But overall, I just, as I said, what you're saying, Johnny, with Brazil, everyone, like the 15, 16 players that all played, unbelievable performance. Unbelievable, especially the last 20 minutes of that game. Now, can they maintain that level of just intensity for the performance? That's what I'd look at. But Jesus, what a team they look. They look so good. And again, if England play against that, or even France, Spain even, I just don't think they're going to be able to compete with that real pace that they play at.
Dusan, was Vlahovic, Kev, that didn't start maybe for Serbia?
No, not Vlahovic.
No.
Vlahovic was one. I'm surprised he didn't start Vlahovic. It was the left wing back. 17, number 17 on the squad.
Let me see if I can find it here. Who else came on? Maximovic came on. Lazovic came on. Radonjic and Ilic. Ivan Ilic.
We'll go around this all day.
Yeah, we will.
He didn't come on. He didn't come on.
Okay. Just to mark people's cards on the games today. So 10 a.m. is Wales, Iran. At 1 o'clock it's Qatar, Senegal in Group A. 4 o'clock Netherlands, Ecuador. And then the England-USA game is at 7. Like that Wales game as well. And I mean, Gareth Bale, big game for him. He become most capped Welsh player of all time. He's overtaken Chris Gunter. I think it's 109 caps now for Bale. And the great story in the page of the papers this morning, Bale urges schools, let pupils watch. So there's this effort to get all of the schools in there's more than 1,000 schools in Wales have already signed up, expected to take part in Kimberley football Friday. So they're gonna, I guess back in our day it was wheel out the TV. I don't know what the modern equivalent is, but like, do you remember that as a kid, Kev? Like, what was your first World Cup watching moment? Like, I think 98 was probably the one where I properly got into it. But do you remember the first time you watched the World Cup and thought, yeah, this is for me?
I'm a bit older than you, Shane, of course. No, I remember 86 really well. I really remember 86. Maradona and everything that went with it. I fell in love with the game after Maradona. It was one of those things. It was at different times. Italian 90 means so much to me because I remember getting in from school at 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, whatever it was. You were racing home from school to watch one of the afternoon games. They were special memories from an Irish perspective in my mind. But 86 was great. I remember watching, Correca, Josimar at that World Cup, and watching Joel Bats in goal for France. I always remember Rats, who was playing for Russia. Then in one game, it was Rats against Bats in goal. Little memories that come back to you in your head from when you were a kid. So 86 and Maradona and everything that Maradona did at that World Cup, I fell in love with football. I did, and all I wanted to do after that was playing a World Cup. That was pretty much it from my own point of view. Yeah.
Kevin, like this. My cousins in Coventry, they had it would have been my father's first cousin, and they all immigrated like Kev's dad did, and they went over to Coventry, had kids, and their kids were a little bit older than us. So when their jerseys were a little bit too big, they'd flog them back to us second hand, and we were delighted to get them, kind of working class family in East Galway. And I was given this crude O'Neill's Argentina jersey with Maradona on the back, and I didn't know the difference. And I scored 3 goals in that morning. I remember in school I scored 3 goals, and I never scored because I felt $1 million. And that's what Maradona, I don't even know what year that was. That was probably around 1990, give or take. But the whole Maradona thing as a kid, Kev, and you were a little bit older than me. Yeah. What he did for football and what he did for little kids to think like that, this is the game I want to play, I suppose.
I know, it's true. It's exactly what he did for me. And it's not, of course, I remember vividly, obviously, the handball goal. I remember the run against England and that. I mean, I heard you talking about Richarlison being the best goal ever scored in a World Cup, but nothing beats Maradona against England. Nothing will ever beat that goal.
Except the one against Belgium.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's what I was going to say. I was going to come off the back of that. Throughout that World Cup, if you watch the Maradona documentary that was on a couple of years ago, and you see the level of performance he was putting in every single game, 3 men marking him,
and the kicking he got,
when you
Kev,
could really when you kick him, you could kick the shy out of him. It was unbelievable, honest to God, what he suffered in every single game. And that was every game for his club when he first moved to Barcelona, when he was in Italy. You can only imagine what he faced in Italy. Just what a player, and he changed it. He changed the landscape for so many of us in watching football. I think he changed football in many respects, because we had this player doing what he was doing every single game, and all of a sudden then TV then boomed off the back of it, didn't he? And I think that's when everyone was then glued through the 90s, as we all know, watching Italian 90. That's when it became a lot more relevant for us as Irishmen. But that's when everything changed for us. But just going back to your point there as well on the TVs in the classroom and things like that when they're getting rolled in. I'm actually hearing it, honestly. I mean, in Canada now, and I don't want to go back and start harping on about things like this, but Canada falls way down the pecking order in soccer terms. There's probably 4 or 5 sports easily ahead. And what we're hearing, I think we're getting a huge audience for an afternoon kickoff in Canada. I think it was 3-4 o'clock kickoff in the afternoon in Canada the other day. Huge audience. These guys who nobody knows about. Everyone knows of Alphonso Davies. Everybody maybe is starting to learn about Jonathan David now. But no one knows any of the other guys in the team. Nobody. And now all of a sudden, all these kids, we're hearing schools rolling the TVs in, so the kids are watching the soccer games in school. It's absolutely unheard of. And it's great now that, we talk about legacies from World Cup. And I heard Johnny talking about the Qatari World Cup and legacies and things like this. Might not necessarily be the case here, granted, but it does have a meaning in other parts of the world, and that is hopefully what we're going to see in Canada with the next World Cup in 2026 being there. I'm hoping 4 years down the line there's a real buzz ahead of that, going into games being played over there in Canada.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. The legacy might not be in Qatar, but it'll be elsewhere, like the bank holiday in Saudi Arabia and things like that. The people in Saudi Arabia are never going to forget that game against Argentina, regardless of what happens from here on. Filip Kostic, left wing back for Serbia, according to
Kostic. Yeah, how he didn't start the game. He was a regular all the way through for Serbia. Yeah, I didn't understand his team selection, but there was obviously issues there. But I still fancy Serbia somehow. I think Serbia are a top side.
Finally, Kev, the news, I don't know if you've seen it overnight, Oisin Mullen has accepted a position to play with the Geelong Cats. Mayo GA has announced the move on social media, wishing him the best in his new endeavour, thanking him for all the memories. 2-time Young Footballer of the Year. As a club, we appreciate the magnitude of moving overseas. This is Geelong, and understood Oisin's reasons for remaining in Ireland and not joining us for this season. Kev, it remains to be seen what Lee Keegan is going to do in terms of retiring or not retiring and staying on for next year. But this regardless, Oisin Mullen heading off to Oz is a bit of a blow for Mayo and Kevin McStay.
It is. There's going to be retirements anyway, I think, and I think we all hope Lee Keegan does carry on, but. You only get, as I was going to say there, you only get one crack at it. He had a chance to go last summer and decided to maybe to stay back and just to have another crack at the All Ireland, which didn't work out. But I just think we all wish him all the best. It's still going to be a hard road for him to go and succeed over there in Australia. But good luck to him. He's been incredible. He's a young man with so much potential, and I think he's got everything within him as an athlete and everything to go and succeed over there in Australia. So good luck to him. In Mayo terms, I think Kevin McStay, you can't replace him at the moment. There's nobody else right now to step in and replace him. So it's going to be a huge void.
Yeah, fair play to him. Big loss for Mayo, but massive boost for Geelong Cats. Of course, he joins Zach Toohey and Mark O'Connor over there. Kev, great stuff as always. We'll check in again. Enjoy the games today.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Johnny. All the best, boys.
Great stuff. Kevin Kilbane there over in Qatar.